Welcome to the Haywood County Board of Commissioners meeting for February 1st, 2016. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, as we meet today, please guide us and give us knowledge and strength as we make decisions that impact our county and our citizens. Please look over and help our children, our elderly, and those in need. Keep our armed forces safe as they protect us overseas and protect those that keep us safe here at home. In your name,
Amen. The first item of business today is a call for public hearing to be held on February 15th, 2016 at 5:30 in this room for the consideration of a ground use ordinance concerning Haywood County owned properties. Recognize Ira Dove.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. At this time, I would request a public hearing for February 15th here at 5:30 for consideration of a ground use ordinance. That ordinance would only pertain to Haywood County owned properties like the property around this facility or around where we have Paragon Parkway, around the Mark building. It's to cover such things as right now we have nothing if people were to start camping or something like that. We want to protect against those kinds of things.
Okay. All right, so if there's no objection, we'll set that public hearing then for February 15th, 2016 at 5:30 p.m. in this room. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we'll open a public hearing for consideration of an ordinance imposing a moratorium on the permitting for construction, establishment, and development approval of commercial outdoor sport shooting ranges in unincorporated areas outside any municipal planning jurisdiction in Haywood County. Again, recognize Ira Dove.
Mr. Chairman, you've opened this public hearing concerning a moratorium, and that would be a temporary measure on commercial outdoor sports shooting ranges based on citizen concerns that were brought at the Commissioners' meetings January 4th, 2016 and January 19th, 2016. There were many citizens who spoke in the public comment sessions concerning this topic and their fears about noise and safety hazards that would be posed by a commercial outdoor shooting range. Before I go further into the discussion of that topic, it's important to note that this is not a public hearing concerning private, non-commercial use of guns in Haywood County. People have hunted and they've fired guns in this area since before the formation of the county. This public hearing is not about people's rights to safely, and assuming they respect the other laws, acting properly, use guns on their private property. Other laws cover if bullets leave an individual's property. Parents can still teach children of appropriate and lawful age in a safe and lawful manner to use guns. Assuming they act lawfully and responsibly, a few friends could get together on one of their properties and shoot guns. This hearing is not about those issues, and I just think that we need to set the groundwork for that, because I know that you may hear concerns about those issues. This public hearing is not about the properly constructed indoor firing ranges either. This public hearing is about proposing a moratorium lasting no more than 60 days, and then going on to consider whether an ordinance is needed as to commercial, and I would say that word again, commercial outdoor sports shooting ranges. Mr. Chairman, prior to this, you asked that I state the present situation and provide some information on safety and health factors. To start, there are several properly run and constructed commercial outdoor sports shooting ranges throughout the United States. There are people that know how to do this. They do this correctly. They have proper health and safety measures, and they make sure that whatever shot on those ranges stays on those ranges. Also, in order to make sure that those kind of things are done, several local governments, including a number of counties in North Carolina, have regulated this activity by passing ordinances. That's because there are potential hazards associated with commercial outdoor sports shooting ranges, and these will be discussed soon. One of the things to note about commercial enterprises, outdoor sports shooting ranges, is the sheer amount of bullets and lead that are typically fired on those compared to somebody going out on an afternoon on their own property. This is a different kind of activity, and the commercial activity is what we are looking at. So where are we? As mentioned, it was brought to the attention of the Board of Commissioners. There existed a possibility of the establishment of a commercial outdoor sports shooting range, and there was no land use regulation or other development regulation which would apply. There's a possibility that the noise ordinance would apply to such an enterprise. Valid questions were posed by several of your citizens as to whether lack of protection against significant and imminent public health and safety concerns surrounding such enterprises could have adverse effects on adjoining persons and properties. Several persons spoke of safety concerns at the last meeting, or their concerns for safety. One citizen brought forward a study from the Vermont Legislative Service concerning the effects of outdoor firing ranges. I did read the study. It was concerned with primarily lead and noise and the impacts of lead and noise. That citizen stated, if I have reviewed correctly who passed that in, that they were concerned for the safety of children in the area of Ratcliffe Cove at the time. I've also read matters regarding the EPA that have concerns about outdoor lead at outdoor shooting ranges and the maintenance and making sure that lead is properly handled on these properties. They put out a lengthy best practice management guide for lead at outdoor sports shooting ranges in June of 2005. The document both shows the hazards of lead and, according to EPA, that ranges without appropriate lead mitigation pose a greater environmental hazard. And again, we're talking about commercial sports shooting ranges where you're going to be firing a lot of lead into the area. In fact, there are a number of sources that are concerned with lead mitigation. When you look, it's one of the hazards that's commonly cited at these things. Other citizens are concerned that if a range is constructed near their house, they won't be in danger from stray bullets. And if you improperly construct a facility in a firing range and you're shooting that many bullets, this is a possibility that's also noted. Bullets can travel and injure persons and property over a long distance. Several types of rifles can project a bullet with the velocity needed, assuming the right trajectory, to carry a bullet over a mile, which necessitates proper construction to make sure that whatever is shot on a range stays on the range. And that seems to be a common theme in the literature and things that I saw, whether it's through the National Rifle Association or some of the sports shooting federations. They are all very concerned about range containment, and they all, I mean, a lot of these people very responsibly go to great lengths and hire experts, talk about how to construct facilities properly so that you mitigate that hazard, talk about how to, they put out entire books on how to build ranges properly. In addition to these groups, several federal agencies have produced information concerning safety factors. You have the EPA, you have Occupational Safety and Health, the OSHA, you have the CDC. Some common themes through all this seem to be that a live fire range, when we're talking about commercial enterprises, that kind of extensive use, should promote safe, efficient operation and should be easy to maintain. They should be designed to prevent injury to personnel and to prevent injury to persons and property outside the range from misdirected or accidental firing and ricochets. They should also be designed to direct ricochets away from the line inside the range. An open range may be established provided that there's enough distance and land available to allow for surface danger zones and and appropriate for the weapons that would be shot at the range. It's important to have a range master over your range if you're going to do this, so you know what types of weapons, and they can instruct people on how to fire safely. There are other safety considerations, but again, what we're talking about is a moratorium that would last no more than 60 days so that you can consider whether you want to do an ordinance regarding commercial outdoor sports shooting ranges. It's also important to note that another concern that was brought up and you may hear about was the timing of this. I went back through and y'all were concerned and wanted to put a public hearing on today. 2 weeks ago this was noticed. I've gotten emails with people concerned about the timing. Typically, public hearings are held at night. There's an assumption there that people that work can get here, but that assumption is not necessarily true. If you stock, if you work at the hospital, or if you work second shift at our largest employer in the county, one of our largest employers, you may never have had the opportunity to make a public hearing. In addition, you could choose to hold this matter open to the next one to vote, and people certainly have the ability to write, email. I've received email, and so has Ms. Way, the deputy clerk. They have the ability to phone in. They have the ability to drop off letters. So that there are many mechanisms that the public has the right to be heard, and many people have availed themselves, whether on this topic or prior topics, when people were really concerned. With that, Mr. Chairman, that's what I have as far as where we are in mentioning the safety factors that I was able to research and just briefly look at in the next meeting. I would therefore thank yourselves and the public for the time, and sit down.
Thank you. At this point, then, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for comment regarding the temporary moratorium that was described by Mr. Dove. There's a sign-up list. The first person who signed up to speak is Jewel Morrow.
Good morning, Commissioners, fellow citizens. I wanted to speak first to maybe clear up some of the rumors that have gone around. Mountain Range does not now or in the past have plans to build an outdoor shooting range at 17 Palmer Road. I do not know how I can say it any simpler or any clearer. That being said, I do support, by ordinance, the establishment of any future commercial outdoor range by ordinance for minimum criteria that needs to be met. Number one, a mechanical backstop with solid containment walls, not allowing soil or media that can be affected by impact or weather. Number two, that on the firing line, an angler deflection device or baffle system be installed. Number three, a range master on duty in the hours of operation of the range. Number four, video monitoring of that range while in operation. That way, if there's an incident, there's video recording of it. These are just the absolute minimum of that. And I hope that, I'd like to see the county get ahead on this, because sooner or later there will be some commercial outdoor ranges that come to our area. The lead thing, the mechanical trap, will deal with that and take care of, collect all the projectiles. Now, I've got to go back to work, and if y'all have any questions for me, if I've not made that clear, I will address those. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Are you the one that was put in the paper that was going to open a range?
Yes.
Was it indoor or outdoor?
It is indoor.
Indoor range.
It is an indoor range. Also, one other thing, let me address this too. I also have no plans for horses, cannons, or cannonballs, airplanes, tanks, or atomic bombs. Now, that being said, I don't know anything else y'all need to ask me or that I can address.
I think you've handled it. But we don't want to have,
Okay, well, I
debate
just,
with the audience.
I don't want to leave and go back to work and then,
Yeah.
that they not understand what I said.
Yeah, before any ordinance is considered for adoption. Wait, sir. We don't do that way here. Sir, please stop.
No,
Sir, please.
no.
Okay, the next person who signed up to speak is Lisa Nelson.
Good morning, once again.
Good morning.
I'm very sorry for the disruption, and I'm very sorry that Mr. Morrow left without hearing some of the community's concerns. Out of due respect, I appreciate what he said, clarified very many things for some of us that have some unsettled feelings. With that, we still would like to continue with the moratorium on looking at the outdoor gun ranges here in Haywood County. Our constitutional rights are to be here in due process, which we have done. The people sitting here today are new faces. They're here and they have their constitutional rights to have been listed and to have been heard today. For that, I appreciate it. I see in this courtroom the face of a student that I had and a parent whose child I had, and I taught current events at Haywood Elementary School for many years, and we debated, and I taught my children there are 3 ways to look at issues. You're for it, you're against it, or you do not have enough information to make up your mind at this time. That's the way we ran our debates at school. Quite often, I gave them a debate card, and they had to debate opposing their own feelings to learn how other people feel about things and how you have to base on facts. Mr. Morrow brought us facts today, and for that, I'm appreciative. But at this time, I still think we need to go forward with an ordinance that protects any property in Haywood County from an outdoor range. For those of you in here that are hunters and like to express your rights that way, I'm behind you. I have guns in my home. My family mostly all has guns in their homes. This is not something against hunters or gun rights. This is about protecting property where we have established communities that would have fears and disruption because of noise and/or excessive traffic. I don't come as a neighbor of Palmer Road today, but if we're going to look at this moratorium, it needs to be looking at the structure of said properties in areas where there is no conflict with these things happening. I don't know what else can be said. I hate that individuals in here have not been here the previous 2 times, and I do regret that Mr. Morrow left. It's a shame that he doesn't want to hear that we speak without malice, without anger. We're just here because we are citizens and we have rights to be heard. We have a constitution to follow, and I appreciate you allowing us the ability to do that in this forum. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Vicki Rogers.
Good morning, Chairman Swanger and Commissioners. I thank you so much for your time, and Mr. Dove, thank you very much for your words that you spoke on shooting ranges. Thank you. I'm here again to speak in favor of setting ordinances for outdoor shooting ranges. I stand by what Lisa has said. It all applies. This is not about constitutional rights. This is not about name-calling of yours or ours. We've been called names now too, so we're all in the same boat on that one. No, it's about safety. It's about dangers that are inherent in lead poisoning. It's about proximity to schools and playing fields within a mile of the area of this particular proposed range that we've been upset about. There is the noise issue that could be certainly a part of outdoor ranges. The traffic issues, we've mentioned that a few times, but for Francis Farm Road and Ratcliffe Cove, yeah, there's going to be more traffic, and I would hope that Mr. Morrow and all of you would consider other places for these types of ranges than right here in this little neighborhood that we have. You know, our community's been devastated by the thoughts of a shooting range in the area. The project has actually proposed a lack of consideration for the area in which we all live. He has other property available. It would just be so nice if he would consider other areas. And so again, I just want to say thank you for listening to us. Appreciate your time. Again, I'm speaking for this ordinance. I would also suggest that we need to look at zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Doug Knight.
He's the one that left.
Oh, he left? Yes. Next speaker will be Doug Knight, the gentleman that left earlier. He'll be coming back in to speak. In the meantime, we'll move to the next speaker, Andrew Jackson.
Thank you for letting me come up here today. Appreciate it. I'm kind of torn on this one. I think everybody should have the right to shoot wherever they want to, as long as it's safe. The lead abatement and all that stuff, I'm not really up on that education. I know there's some lead-free ammo and stuff like that, but I'm totally against this moratorium, and I'd like for a public hearing to be held in the afternoon. I know our Dove mentioned that, yes, most of them are. We do get more people here. You get more input. Yes, there are other avenues, but I think you can be more vocal when you come up here and you look you right in the eyes and say, hey, I don't want to do that. I don't want y'all to do that. Another thing is, every single one of y'all took an oath to protect the Constitution. Part of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Second Amendment, shall not be infringed. There's enough regulations through executive fiat, through the federal government, that would regulate this to stringent regulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Doug Knight.
First of all, let me apologize to everybody for my outburst. I didn't mean for it to be an outburst, but I apologize for it. What I had concerns about, because it seems that everybody else has a concern about it, is the fact that where this is located. And I wanted to see if our county commissioners have property, or if the county owns property, that we might move some of this over there. It might be available to expand to bring people into our county. We only have 2 industries in this county. Number one being Evergreen. I don't consider Giles Chemical and HVO as a big industry. But our other big industry is methamphetamines. We have a drug problem in this county. I feel like what they're trying to do is try to bring jobs to this county. And that's what we need, is jobs in this county. And maybe if we can work with them and get this gun range moved to another place, a bigger place, you know, let's try to get the county to offer him something to help him get more employees. Maybe that would help. We also have at gun ranges, these are licensed gun officers that run these ranges. They have to be licensed. If not, they're in violation of federal law. Let's work to help get this guy his range and maybe even expand his range to where it brings tourism in here. We have gun competitions and things like that. His building that he's going to present, from the way I understand it, and I'll make this quick, is it's at the safest point that it could be at. I've been to many, many gun ranges. I used to work for the federal government, as well as you, Mr. Swanger. We know how these things are built, and they're built solid. So please look into this, and let's stop trying to choke people to death and keep this type of industry and stuff, more industry, from happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the last person that signed up to speak is Debbie King.
Good morning. I'm Debbie King. I live in the Beaver Dam area. Just a few months ago, there was a plan to process 25 tons of waste per hour in the Beaver Dam community. I think most of us remember that. We asked for a public hearing. The hearing was held October 19th at 5:30 p.m. It was standing room only in this room. During the commissioners' meeting immediately following the hearing, you stated that anyone that worked the second shift that night couldn't be here. So you asked for a motion to suspend the rules to allow for a 9 a.m. public hearing. The second public hearing was held on November 2nd, 2015. As already stated by Mr. Dove, public hearings are typically held in the evening to allow more people to attend. However, at your last meeting, you suspended the rules in order to request this public hearing to be held during the morning. Many people in the public are upset with the fact that you arranged the hearing at a time when the majority of the people cannot attend. I am requesting that you hold a public hearing in the evening to allow those that work during the day the opportunity to attend and have their voice heard. Also, it concerns me that there are certain times when people are allowed to speak from the floor, and there are certain times when people are not allowed to speak from the floor. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would care to comment regarding this matter? If you would, just come up and identify yourself, please.
Good morning, Chairman. My name is Josie Rathbone, and I just wanted to stand up here for the third time and express my concerns. I'm definitely for this moratorium. I want to address again what Vicki and Lisa both said. We are not here to take your guns away. We are not here about the Second Amendment. We are here because we have family that has been in this, and the land has been in the family for years, or you have saved your whole entire life to buy land to build your dream home, and you have children, and this is going to be on a flat piece of land where you have no clue where these bullets are going, and that you, as a mother and as a parent, your sole responsibility from the time that this baby comes into your life is they're your first concern. They're priority number one. And so I'm here as a parent today to express my concerns, as I don't want to be sitting in my home or even have my child outdoors wondering if a stray bullet is going to come or if she is going to develop lead poisoning by not properly disposing of this. So thank you for your time. Again, I am for the moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would care? Okay, come up, identify yourself, please.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, fellow Haywood County citizens. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. This has all the earmarks of someone's feeling that there is an imminent danger here. We have a hearing right now scheduled on a week's notice at a time when it's not easy for people to attend. We have a proposed moratorium of actions that I know of at this moment have not even been proposed. And further, a moratorium so that we can study whether or not we need an ordinance to regulate something that has not yet been proposed. We have a gentleman proposing to build an indoor range. And here we are spending all of this time of yours, of these people, over something that has not yet been proposed. This moratorium and this ordinance that we're to consider during the moratorium looks to me like an obvious solution in search of a problem. Are we serving all of the citizens of Haywood County by spending this time, or are we serving some small group of Haywood County citizens by spending this time? I would ask the commissioners to consider the proposal or my proposition that this is a solution in search of a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
What was his name?
Oh,
What was his name?
could, sir, your name for our records? Okay, Paul Yeager. Okay. Does somebody else want to speak? Okay.
Back there.
My name is Buzz Swanger, live in Canton. First issue I want to bring up is the 9 a.m. meeting. I work at the mill. A lot of people would have been here that couldn't. I do. Fortunately, I was able to be here, see what all was going on. Talked to Mr. Sarles last week. One issue that I've got is the original moratorium that I seen in paragraph 4 deleted the word commercial. It said subsequent outdoor ranges. I don't have that copy with me. I should have brought it, but anyway, that needs to be, if this is truly a commercial thing, it needs to be changed. On the commercial side, we have county ordinances for noise and everything else that I don't see any reason to add to that. Along with what this gentleman said, it's an indoor range. He stood up here and said, it's an indoor range. Why are we beating an outdoor range up? It's got nothing to do with this gentleman that's wanting to open an indoor range. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Fellow back there, did you want to speak, sir?
He changed his mind. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name's Ron Sekula. I live in the Palmer Road area, about a half a mile from where the proposed range is. I think the main concern of all the people here, we're talking about two different things, an indoor range and outdoor range. To me, the outdoor range is the dangerous part of this proposal. Now, he says that he's not going to build an outdoor range, but what's going to stop him in the future from doing such a thing? I think that something needs to be put on the table in front of the people to put an ordinance in to stop outdoor ranges, commercial outdoor ranges in areas such as the Palmer Road area. The danger of this, of a proposed possible outdoor range in that area is very dangerous because of the flight of the bullets. We have a school that's very, very close. We have occupied residences very, very close, and you need to keep that in mind when putting in an ordinance such as this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? No. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and close the public portion of the hearing. You know, just to make sure everyone understands that the purpose of this hearing today was to consider whether or not to adopt a temporary moratorium to give the county time to research whether or not an ordinance should be considered for outdoor commercial ranges. That's a process. Anytime you have an ordinance, there's a state process that's set forth in general statutes. And before this board considers an ordinance of any kind, we'll follow the state law, which calls for a public hearing, another public hearing in addition to the one we had today. And that public hearing will be scheduled for the evening hours. Now, there will also be about 75 days between now and the time that this board will decide whether or not to adopt an ordinance. You got the 60-day period of the moratorium and about 15 days until our next board meeting. So there will be 5 board meetings in that time frame, thereabouts. There's public comment sessions available in each of those meetings. Half of them will be in the evening. So, you know, it's kind of disingenuous to worry about or to criticize just the scheduling of a public hearing when there's going to be 5 or 6 other opportunities. And there's, as Mr. Dove stated, in addition to appearing, there are many other ways in which your views can be made known through emails, telephone calls, letters, and so forth. But there will be at least 3 other opportunities in the evening for people to express their opinion about whether or not an ordinance should be adopted. Today, we're only talking about whether or not to adopt a temporary 60-day moratorium. And by law, that's the longest it can be for, is 60 days. So, Kirk, do you have anything?
No, I just wanted to address the one issue that came up the last time and why I asked for this to be brought forward, or at least we started talking about it first. And that's because, and I recognize that some of the issues Mr. Yeager pointed out, but my understanding in our conversation last time was the fact that we don't have anything in place that if someone makes application at this point in time to construct an outdoor range, if we take action after they make application, then that action will not affect that application because that application's grandfathered in, so we can't do anything to stop that outdoor range. So that's the whole purpose of talking about this moratorium, so we can prohibit that. That was that's my understanding of it. So, I mean, you're kind of in a catch-22. If you don't do something about it or you don't talk about it and someone makes application, it's too late to do anything about it. So that's the point in the whole discussion and and the request for the moratorium.
And, what we're talking about is, public safety in large part. Even the National Rifle Association has literature, voluminous literature on how to have a safe outdoor range and recommendations they make. So this is not a gun rights issue. This is a public safety issue. I don't think anyone would want a outdoor range next to a school, for example. That's not reasonable. So the purpose of the moratorium is to thoughtfully and reasonably assess what should be done for public safety regarding outdoor firearms ranges. And literature provided by the NRA and others will be studied, and we'll try to come up with the best solution that we can. Bill, do you have any?
I really don't have anything to add. I think we right on target. School's not far away. We know how far a bullet will travel with the right trajectory, 1 mile. So, we got to think about the kids, number one, and then the location of homes close to an outdoor range. So I think safety is the bottom line.
The indoor range is going to, Joel saying, sounds like he's going to build it. So we're not talking about indoor ranges at all. Those can be built anywhere, I guess, in the county that they want to build them. What we're talking about is a commercial outdoor shooting range, commercial outdoor shooting range where somebody goes and pays a fee to shoot. I think I asked the question last time. I want to make sure that if you're on private property or if you have a private range that you can still fire away, and you can just fire away. It doesn't affect that at all. Conversations I had with people this past week, after about a minute of talking with them, they understood what we were trying to do, and that is it in a nutshell. The indoor range is going to happen, sounds like, if Joel wants to build it. The outdoor range, it's a commercial outdoor range for a fee. I was in church yesterday, and I was talking to a friend of mine who actually owned the property that adjoined our church, and I said, you could open up a firing range, commercial firing range right now outside our church. And on Sunday morning, when we're trying to worship in these little country churches that are out in our rural areas, can you imagine trying to worship if there's a commercial range right next to you? Or if you're in school? I'm as pro Second Amendment rights as you can get, and we have to use some common sense. And maybe it is in search of a problem, but and I have talked with people who were considering doing a commercial outdoor range, and they said it's so expensive that it wasn't cost effective for them to do that, to hire a range master. It's like Joel was talking about. Joel knows a lot about them, and he's for this moratorium because he knows that they need to be constructed properly to where, safety is the key. I think safety is always the key when you're dealing with firearms. So I just want to reiterate, this is a commercial for fee outdoor range. Right now, wherever you go to church out in the country, if there's a big property owner, and I think most of your rural churches have large properties next to them, there's nothing to stop anyone from setting up a commercial outdoor range. And I think common sense dictates that maybe we need to have an ordinance in place to where if they did want to open an outdoor range, that we would have some parameters. It has to be so far away from a church, so far away from a school, things like that. That should encourage outdoor ranges to me, because if I have a piece of property and it fits within the parameters that we can establish, then that's going to encourage those to be built out in the rural areas because it'll be in a proper area. So, and I've talked with folks who think we need more outdoor ranges, and I agree with them. We probably do. I know the one up at Lake Logan is used extensively. It's hard to, you have to wait to be able to use. But then everybody has to stop firing, I think, to go put your target up. That's got to be a pain. So we want to encourage these if we can. And if we have spaces available out there, then the property owner, if he has a space that fits within our ordinance, if we do one, I'm not saying we will, but if we do one and that space fits within that ordinance, then he can set up a firing range out there. And if a neighbor doesn't like it, that's far away, probably, we'll make sure it's safe. They can't stop them. You know, they can build it if his property meets the criteria. So I think if anything, this may encourage them. At least people know, you know, areas that they can be built in. So that'd be my comments on it.
Michael?
Yeah, I just want to address that I had a few calls last week in reference to the moratorium. And, you know, most of those concerns were about being able to go out in your backyard or on your own property and shoot your own gun. And this is not what it's about. When I explained that, everybody seemed to be very, basically supportive of the situation that we're trying to do. Mr. Swanger, he did call her about and discuss that paragraph 4, and I had the conversation. And of course, to Mr. Dove, the intent was to be commercial all the way through. And that is exactly what we're trying to do, is commercial, for-profit firing range. Now, we also talked about, they started talking about but the public hearing part, and people wanted their opportunity to speak. Most of them, when I told them this was about a commercial range, were fine. But, you know, I even told people, you know, we'd try to do another one on the February, is it the 15th meeting we have? Which, you know, I'm not, I mean, I would be okay with that if the other commissioners are, but if not, you know, we have a public comment session, and I would encourage anybody to come and speak during that time about this. But like I said, the majority of the people did, once you told them what we're trying to do, they understood that. You know, I want to reference property on Jonathan Creek. You know, we have a law enforcement firing range down at the Maggie Valley Sanitary wastewater facility down there. And, you know, it probably meets a whole lot of the criteria that we're trying to do with the, you know, ordinance, if in fact we do that. But there's still people that are aware of what's going on there and have had to call or, you know, about the disruption, and maybe it was later at night as they tried to get their certification at night or whatever. So you can imagine if it was in a really populated area and it was you know, a 7-day-a-week, 8 to 5 or 8 to 9 or whatever it was, you know, of shooting. And you know, I've had a situation where a gentleman bought a house and built a house close to me, and he likes to shoot his guns, and he gets out there on the weekends and he shoots quite regularly. And, you know, it can be disruptive, but it's his property, and you know, so be it. I want to have that same opportunity when I go out, you know, if I decide I want to do something like that. And that's, we're not going to eliminate that kind of thing. We're just talking about a commercial, for-profit situation that, you know, could be disruptive if it was put into a school area or a large populated area. We want to talk about also wasting a lot of time. Well, we recently tried to do, bring some, create some jobs in this county and bring an industry into this county that into a place that was for an industrial park and all like that. And, you know, we thought it would fit perfectly there. It got blown out of proportion, but we ended up backing away from it. And you talk about spending a lot of time on it. We spent a lot of time on it. So this is just an opportunity to, you know, maybe put something out there. And like Commissioner Inslee said, maybe this will encourage people that, you know, that's got some situations that might meet this criteria, because I think that there's a lot of interest in, number one, in indoor ranges, and I've got people that come to me on my property and ask if they can go and shoot all the time. I don't allow much of it because I don't want to disrupt my neighbors, because I live close, you know, pretty close to some houses and stuff like that. So there is some interest in it, and maybe this will help encourage it.
Any other comments? Ira? Chip?
Well, one thing I was going to mention, there's a study commission right now that's being conducted at the legislature to look at public lands, state park lands and things like that, lands that aren't being used, to consider the possibility of the use of those lands for things such as this. So that's something the state's looking at right now.
Is there any objection to deciding on the moratorium at our next meeting, or does the board want to address that today? What's the pleasure of the board?
I didn't understand what you said.
I was asking what the pleasure of the board is to address this moratorium today, or wait till our next board meeting?
I'd like to wait till the next one.
I agree. Okay. So be it. That's what we'll do. Put it on the agenda for our next board meeting, and there'll be a public comment session prior to that meeting if anyone else cares to comment on the consideration of a 60-day moratorium on outdoor commercial firearms ranges. So at this point, I'll close the public hearing, and we'll move to our next agenda item.
I just want to make sure that everyone's clear that you can come back again before the moratorium is voted on next time at an evening meeting to make any comments, if that wasn't clear.
It's 15th, is right, I believe.
15th of February. Okay, the regular public comment session is the next agenda item. That's to talk about anything that you'd like to talk about. First up is Nicole Revels. Revels, okay.
I hope somebody doesn't make that.
Okay, hi. I am here to speak today regarding the resolution that has been proposed by this board that pertains to Pat McCrory's Connect NC bond proposal. Now, the first thing that I think needs to be acknowledged pertaining to this is bonds are not free money that just comes out of nowhere. What you're actually talking about is adopting a line of credit and then leaving $2 billion of that debt and interest to future generations to pay off. Bond proponents admit that it would be at least 20 to 25 years before this bond is paid off if it is adopted. That means that many of those who are going to be left to pay off this debt are not even old enough to vote on the matter. I contend that it is immoral for us to adopt debt under the names of our children. Now, pertaining to this resolution specifically, I notice a couple of items that I would call into question. One of those is it says, no tax increase will be required to fund these bonds if it's adopted. I consider that to be an empty campaign promise, and actually that claim comes from the bond proponents, the Connect NC people, and it has absolutely no weight behind that claim. And the reason I say that is because I have the legislation right here that pertains to the bond, and there is no provision anywhere within this legislation that guarantees that we will not see a tax increase when that debt comes due. Also, the legislators that are touting this claim today actually have no control over what future sets of legislators, what measures they will invoke in order to pay off that $2 billion debt and interest when it comes due. So that really has no weight behind it, but also our own North Carolina history demonstrates that we will see a tax increase once this bond is passed. And I say that because the last time that North Carolina adopted a general obligation bond was 15 years ago. And I have here a hindsight analysis that was conducted after that bond passed. This is from the Pope Center for Higher Education Policy, and this is from 2002. And what they say in their final paragraph of this analysis is, it is worthwhile to remember that a key selling point of the bond proposal to the voters in 2000 was the promise it won't raise your taxes. Its approval, however, led to new budgetary obligations that helped to drive the budget into deficit and pave the way for the tax increases enacted in 2001. That promise was irresponsible and deceptive. So history forgotten is doomed to repeat itself, and we need to remember that 1 year after the last time we adopted a bond, there was a direct tax increase. Now, the other thing about your resolution that I would call into question. You say here in the very first sentence, you indicate that this bond is going to build roads. And that is not actually the case, but I can understand why there would be that confusion. It's called the Connect NC bond, and it was originally proposed as a measure for transportation funding. However, before the final version of the legislation was adopted, all of the transportation funding was removed, and there now remains $0 for any transportation funding within this bond. Yet they're still using the Connect NC name, which has created confusion among voters. There was a Civitas poll that came out recently related to this bond that demonstrated that the majority of the voters polled, Democrats and Republicans, thought that infrastructure spending in relation to this bond equated to funding for transportation and roads. So there is a lot of confusion surrounding this. I suggest that we stop calling it Connect NC and start calling it by a more appropriate name, Misdirect NC. Thank you.
Debbie King signed up to speak again.
I was going to speak about something different, but instead, I'm going to go back to what we were just talking about with the public hearing. A vote does not usually take place the day of a public hearing. It is very likely at your next meeting that you will take a vote on this moratorium. Although you're allowing people to come and speak, the vote will probably take place that night. The definition of disingenuous, Mr. Swanger, as you know, is not candid or sincere. I can assure you that my request for a second public hearing was indeed candid and sincere.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, we'll close the public comment session then and move to constituent concerns. Bill, give me.
Really nothing new than what we've been discussing. Budget cuts in the school system's a big topic. The gun range, big topic, and I guess weather, so that we can't control.
Right. Kirk?
Yeah, I think all those issues, and I did have one email from Justin Rathbone regarding the gun range. That's all I had.
I did as well. I forwarded that to Ira for big.
I do want to thank our emergency personnel that worked the storm and also helped rescue the WLOS employee that was up at Mount Pisgah on the tram. But I appreciate all their work. I know they worked a lot of overtime. You know, everybody kind of hunkers down. We don't do a whole lot during those times, but they did. That's when they were their busiest. Yeah. So, and that was. But I thought everything went really well. We were very well prepared, and I want to thank them and also Dell's staff, maintenance, who cleared the area so that public could get in after that. Michael?
And my constituent concern or praise was for the staff and for all the people that were big snowstorm last weekend and kept roads or kept the sidewalks and the place opened up and citizens safe out there. A lot of effort went into that, and I don't think a lot of people see that. But just because the county offices were closed, there was a lot of people out there working, and thank you very much for that.
Okay. Okay. We don't have any administrative or agency reports today, but I would like to adjust the agenda to add attorney-client privilege under authority of General Statute 143-318.11A3 on the closed session. Does anyone else have anything? Okay, if not, we'll move to the consent agenda. We've had the opportunity to review the January 19th, 2016 regular meeting minutes. Are there any changes to those? Hearing none, we'll move to Julie Davis with a series of budget amendments. Julie?
Good morning. I have a few budget amendments today. The first one is for the Health and Human Services Agency. This is a $20,000 grant that has been received by the agency for Ebola virus disease and responding to Ebola. And the next
Hey,
one,
what's going on with that disease? I hadn't heard anything. I mean,
what's going on with it?
yeah, I mean, there
It's
are
pretty much
problems there. I just
contained, I
hadn't
think.
heard it for a while.
I don't know
Ebola?
the answer to that, but there may be
Ebola?
somebody here that does.
Is that what you're talking
Ebola.
about? Yeah, I mean, they pretty well got it, but it's kind of flared back up over in Africa again in a couple places, not the magnitude it was, but still,
And
it's
the
out
kind yeah. It can reflare as it's done through time.
Okay.
So it's one of those things to prepare for.
And this is actually for developing an operations plan for responding, so if it does flare again.
So if it does get here, we'll be ready for it.
We will be ready for it.
Okay.
$20,000 worth of being
Yeah,
ready for
yeah, I
it.
just, okay.
Okay.
Kind of ready.
And the next budget amendment is, this is a central services function. This is facilities and maintenance. We're putting some money back into the budget of about $48,000 from contingency for items that we have felt were necessary to take care of over the last few months for security, for the employees as well as the citizens of the county. We've done a few items that were not originally budgeted, some things that we didn't get done in last year's budget that by the end of June, when we already had our budget, were not in this year's budget, and some other items for security in the courthouse. I think the front of the building, we had an off-site issue where we had to put some locks on some sheds that were holding sensitive information. And I can give you some more details. I would, but and Dale is here if you need some more details of the specifics.
And I also understand the details on those. We had to put in security cameras and stuff remotely, and we had to do, as Ms. Davis said, do some extensive rekeying of an area and stuff like this.
I think I want Dale to comment on that. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, there was a breakdown of some sensitive communication equipment at
yes.
a remote location, so that had to be
We've
addressed.
actually had two that we had to deal with and put up video systems. So, yes.
Okay.
All right, the next budget amendment is actually just a reallocation of some salary line items among some different departments. We are consolidating some of the IT staff into the IT department. They had been spread among social services and health departments. We also are putting an IT person in the land records. So you're going to see the IT department budget increase and the land records department increase, and then we're going to be taking the money from health departments and social services departments where these people were originally budgeted.
Okay. Okay, the next item then would be a resolution, Julie.
This is bringing back to you another section of the EMS base installment financing. This is our final and approving resolution. We have had the bank bids come in. We've had the construction bids come in. Dale brought that information to you last week, and the LGC will be meeting tomorrow to approve this for the county. This resolution does a few things. I can go through a couple of them and bring them out, or read the entire resolution, which is quite long. But
Just highlight, we've done this many times.
all right, one of these is whereas the county has the power pursuant to the general statutes of North Carolina to purchase real and personal property, enter into installment financing contracts in order to finance and refinance the purchase of real and personal property, and grant a security interest in some or all of the property purchased. And whereas the county, the Board of Commissioners of the county has previously determined that it is in the best interest of the county to finance all or a portion of the costs of, one, the construction of an emergency medical services and emergency management base on property owned by the county, and related site improvements, including on-site parking and utilities. Whereas the board has determined that it is in the best interest of the county to enter into an installment financing contract dated as of February 1st between the county and TD Bank to finance all or a portion of the cost. And then skipping down, whereas the board adopted a resolution on December 7th, making certain findings of fact, whereas the board had a public hearing on this on December 21st to receive public input, and whereas the county has filed an application with the Local Government Commission with respect to the county entering into the contract in a principal amount not to exceed $2.1 million. Now, therefore, I'm skipping again. You've got, I think that your copy had a lot of information. There was a deed of trust and the contract for your review for this. So now, therefore, be it resolved that all actions of the county manager, the finance director, and the clerk to the board, and their respective designees in effectuating the proposed financing of the project are hereby approved. The county hereby approves the financing of the project in accordance with the terms of the contract. And those are the high spots of this particular one. Is actually pretty identical to all those. Then Chip has something to add.
Just wanted to mention, I thought we'd already, Julie, made that change, but I want to make it clear anyway. I don't think it's fatal to the resolution, but the county's not buying any property in connection with this deal, as we had done previously.
That's right. It's county owned by the property.
So,
owned by the county.
That's one inaccuracy in there, although I don't think it's fatal to the resolution at all, because we do have the authority to do that. Just want to
That's
make
why it's in there. We have the authority, but we are.
Just want to make it clear that we're not buying property.
Right. County owned, property owned, already owned by the county is what we're doing with this resolution.
Okay. Any questions on the resolution or on the consent agenda? Hearing none, then would entertain a motion that the consent agenda as presented be approved.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to old business, which is an update on the option to sell the former Haywood County Hospital to the Historic Preservation Foundation of North Carolina, and a call to public hearing to be held on March 21st, 2016 at 5:30 p.m.
I know I have both of these up, so let me just get
We'll go ahead and do the public hearing call at this point. If you would put that on the agenda for March 21st. Ira?
Just one comment I was wanting to make when we were talking about our the installment financing contract. This project is for the EMS, and then we've got the animal shelter coming up. But now is a good time, with interest rates real low, to do projects. In fact, they're kind of as low as I think they'll ever go, and they're going to only go up. And they went up really a small fraction. I don't think they are this month, but we're kind of in that low point for interest rates historically. So this is a good time to, if you're going to borrow, this is a good time to do that.
Okay, Ira, you made a note of the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
We would ask for the public hearing on this matter to be set for March 21st, 2016 at 5:30 here at the Haywood Courthouse for consideration of economic incentives as required by the and the public hearing is required by the North Carolina General Statutes. Those economic incentives would relate specifically to historic preservation and to the development of the type of housing, senior, veterans, low affordable housing.
Okay.
And at this
Will you give us
time,
an update, David?
Yes, sir. Hey, just wanted to bring the board and the public up to date on where we are with the potential sale of the historic Haywood County Courthouse. I like this slide a lot. As this was, I told y'all before, this was done by Louis Asbury out of Charlotte, hand-drawn in 1926.
They were all hand-drawn then.
Yeah. But we just don't get to appreciate that as much. Yeah. But going through looking at all the drawings from this, but it's pretty significant there. Wanted to go back and touch on as you all remember, the board commissioned the Development Finance Initiative from the UNC School of Government to do a highest and best use study of the historic hospital. And it came back with two recommendations: market rate housing and affordable housing. Market rate housing would be, current, rents at market rate. We took in our due diligence period, we met with a realtor who went through the building extensively and trying to come back up with a price what the building was worth. As you know, all the rehab work that would be in there, there's over $300,000 worth of remediation of asbestos. It's outdated, it's old. We could not come up with a better estimate from the realtor, about $450,000 due to all the rehab work. And also, the hospital has a historic designation, so it would make somebody a tough time to be able to go in there and do market rate anything with having to keep the historic nature of the hospital. So we come back to affordable housing, which back in 2011, with the Fitch Group had made a proposal to the county at that time to do an affordable housing project that would have brought units there. I think at that time, they proposed about 55 units for the hospital to become affordable housing. So, but this past year, we eliminated market rate. It just would not work with the low number of the sale price. We just could not figure out that it would make a benefit to the county at that point either. And so, cost of upkeep, reiterate that, and put a new roof on back in 2014, $205,000. This year, we slated for repair of plaster, asbestos rebatement, window replacement, and annual utilities every year are costing $75,000. Cost of maintenance and utilities of the past few years, $505,000. This year, the next 3 years, $328,000 of cost. So there is a lot to maintain in that building, and Dale's done an excellent job of maintaining that building and keeping it in shape to where it is worth something. And, in where we are, and this board, trying to keep the historic quality and preservation of the building, and did not want to give away, Haywood County's first historic and the state's first historic hospital. It says a lot about what we think about the building and the care that we believe this building is worth to us and our heritage here in Haywood County. So what's the difference from 2011 to 2016? Because the purchase price back then was $1.275 million. Back then, the state historic tax credits were 20% of the project. State low-income housing tax credits were 20% of the project. And these are able to be stacked with federal housing credits and historic rehab credits as well, too. And then the sunset happened, where the state historic tax credits sunset. And it took the legislature over 2 years to bring these back. Governor McCrory and Secretary of Commerce Shalala was very instrumental in trying to get this back on there. They did not get it back where they wanted it to be. South Carolina up there is to 25%. So a lot of historic tax credits and a lot of projects are going on in South Carolina, not in North Carolina. So the historic tax credits came back for January 1st, 2016. So what the difference is now is the state historic tax credit has went from 20% down to 15% in 2016. So a loss of 5% there. And the state income housing tax credit went from 20% down to 2%. So basically a loss of 90% on that one item there. So when you start adding those two up, 5% and 18%, you got a 23% loss in credits from the state. The legislature's changed all this. So a 23% loss. So you start thinking $1 million, it's $230,000. For each $1 million you spend, that's been lost in the credits. So that tax credit's not there any longer for us to receive or for the developer to receive. So it's a huge disparity between 2011 and 2016. Any questions about that? And so the Fitch Group, we asked to come back and look at the project again. Said there was from now, 2011 to now, there's a $1.7 million funding gap from the loss of those credits. I had Landmark run those numbers as well. They got very close, $1,694,000 difference in funding between 2011 and 2016 due to the loss of those credits. So that's why the county's not able to achieve a bigger return on this property because those credits have went away legislatively. And so the recent landmark projects, Gaston County was another hospital that was done back in 2006, 2007. There's a $700,000 purchase price. The Gaston County and the city loaned $600,000 towards the rehab of the closed hospital. City of Albemarle was $150,000 purchase price. The city loaned $450,000. To get the credits, the North Carolina Housing Agency wants to see the county or the city to have skin in the game. And that's why these loans are made back. So Haywood County has a $200,000 purchase price, a loan of $450,000 towards the historic hospital. Loan will have a balloon payment in 30 years. We went back and negotiated with this before it was going to be a forgiven loan. We got this back, and now it'll be a balloon payment at the end of 30 years. So it'll still be interest-free, but it will be paid back in 30 years. And also the town of Waynesville has agreed to waive permit fees and provide in-kind services since our last meeting as well too. So some of the parking area and curbing and sidewalks like that that the town is equipped for will be able to help the project move along, and plus waiving the fees for the project there. Okay?
Anything that the town of Waynesville does in that regard will reduce the $450 loan amount?
Correct, correct.
Okay. So
we still have to go through what all that will be, once we get to, if they get approval back in September of this year, and then we can start putting those things together, how much that will be. So we'll still have to go through the first phase of the loan, which will be scheduled for March of 2017, and then the next loan amount will be reduced down in March of 18. That's right. Okay. All right. I'd like to introduce to you the Brookmont Lofts, a home for elderly families and veterans. I wish you could, the light in here earlier was great where you could see this. You see on the entrance, the entrance has been remade to the way it looked in 1927. See the cleanup of the brick and some of the windows that are not there. Brookmont is the historic name of that area out there. I could not find about exactly where it came from, but all the parcels out there refer to the plat of Brookmont, which was filed in 1928, but it was earlier called that as well. The deed that went from the marshals to Haywood County to sell the hospital in 1926 showed the Brookmont area as well. So there's the side of the building. You see with the curbing, with the town of Waynesville, see over there below the awning is a picnic area. And then just a higher elevation view of that. And here's a layout of the second floor, which would be, if you're going up the stairs, would be where the Board of Education is. You can see on the front there's a one-bedroom unit, a two-bedroom unit. Behind there's another two-bedroom unit and another two-bedroom. And then back the longer hallway from the 50s, you can see the layout of those units as they go down through there. And this is what it'll look like inside. A one-bedroom unit on the left and a two-bedroom unit on the right. Very excited about this project. We have been in touch with the Veterans Affairs Office. We hopefully that we'll receive a grant through their office later this year, early next year, due to this project. They are excited about this project and working through all their machinery they have to work through to get some approval done. And we're also applying for some other grants to help reduce the cost of the loan as well too. So I'm very excited about this project. I think the only way you could not be excited for this project if you just don't like veterans, families, or seniors. Because the people who need this the most, this will be a place that'll help them.
Yeah, we were very disappointed back in 2011.
12. Yeah, it came to 12.
When it didn't, tax credits were not awarded to the project. So looks much more favorable this time. But when you look at the hundreds of thousands of dollars that's going to be required to maintain this building, that's the same as selling it for a lot of money if you don't have to pay that money out. So,
And,
The other alternative would be eventually to just have to be torn down.
Tore down.
We don't want to see that.
And that
It being
expense-
historical, it would be tough to tear it down, I would think.
It would be, yeah, the front part would be, I don't think you'd ever get any way you could tear that down, but the 50s part, I think you could probably eventually tear down.
What would it cost to tear it down?
You'd have to, still have to mitigate and have all the asbestos removed, so you're spending $350,000 there, another $600,000 to demo it and haul it off.
But we still have to leave the front part and do something with it, right?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just can't,
And it's been for sale for 5 years and
Nothing.
nobody's made an offer.
Yeah. This is the, this is the only possible, project in reality right now is this.
When it first-
'Cause I had the, the largest commercial real estate brokers come through here. They talked to a gentleman who's putting up several, I think he's got about 330 units he's building right now in Asheville for apartments. They looked at it and, I'm sorry, he just laughed. He says, just can't do it. He says, if you knock it down, sure. Well, we can maybe get to talk somewhere, but I'm not going to pay to knock it down either. I'm going to take $1 million off of it, anything to knock it down. So.
The cost avoidance is substantial, and the public policy return is very positive. So
Yes.
It's a win-win in that regard.
And then one of the things, and we found during the last couple of weeks when we're getting the application ready is we sat down with Patsy Dowling and her staff and found that there was a 500-plus waiting list for affordable housing. It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And I know I have, a couple of rental units and they fill up quick. And we just don't have enough housing right now for our public and for our elderly.
I have several rentals, and I know people have rentals, and they're full. I mean, I had one empty. The guy told me he's going to be out the end of the month, and had a lady call me, moved right in. I mean, used to, I'd take several months.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that problem anymore. So housing's a big need in our area right now, and especially affordable housing.
And rents have, rents are increasing.
Yeah,
very, very much so, and makes it tough for some people who are out there and with a lower hourly wage job to make ends meet. And this will have a safe place for families to have, and elderly can be there.
Okay, any questions of David or observations? Okay.
All right,
thank you, sir. All right, we'll move to new business. We have Blue Ridge Community Health Services with us for a presentation on joining with the Good Samaritan Clinic of Haywood County to increase services and sustainability of the Haywood County Health Care Safety Net.
Good morning.
Welcome.
I'm not sure what happened to the PowerPoint.
We'll get to the...
Well, good morning. I'm Jennifer Henderson, CEO of Blue Ridge Community Health, and I appreciate you allowing the time for me to be here to tell you about an innovative collaboration that is being created in Haywood County between Haywood Regional Hospital, Good Sam Mountaintop Healthcare, and Blue Ridge Community Health Services, who are all here with me today. What we are doing is we're seeking your support of the project. What I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about what a federally qualified health center is, which is what Blue Ridge is. Talk a little bit about who Blue Ridge is and how long we have been in business, the need for an FQHC in Haywood County, and then our collaborative project plan. And I'm going to do all of that in 7 minutes. First, I'd like to tell you that the FQHCs, there's a couple of different kinds of FQHCs, and what that means is that there's a grant fund, federal grant funding program under Section 330 of the Public Health Service Act that allows dollars to care for those who are uninsured, and then some other benefits to healthcare providers, nonprofit healthcare providers. Blue Ridge is one of those federally qualified health centers. There are 4 different kinds: community health centers, migrant health centers, healthcare for the homeless, and public housing. Those are the 4 designations. Blue Ridge Community Health Services is designated as both a community health center and also as a migrant health center. We receive those federal funds in that 330 grant to enable us to take care of those who are most vulnerable in our community, those who are uninsured, underserved, and experiencing barriers to health care. What makes a federally qualified health center or a health center a little bit different is that it must be located in an area that is a medically underserved population, which Haywood County is, that it be governed by a community board of directors that is comprised of at least 51% patients. So as the CEO of Blue Ridge, I report to a board of directors where the majority are actually our patients, which allows the consumer to be at the decision-making level. In addition, we must represent the communities that we serve in other ways as well, race, ethnicity, and geography, that making sure that there's someone from Haywood County is going to be important on Blue Ridge's board. And just to let you know, we have already made a nomination for Carmen Rocco to serve on Blue Ridge Community Health Services Board to represent Haywood County. We must provide comprehensive primary care and as well as those supportive services, which I'll get to in a different slide. And we have to make sure that our services are available to everyone based on their income, family size, and federal poverty level. And then we meet many other performance and accountability requirements. What you see now are the services that are required of a federally qualified health center. All of those services we must guarantee that our patients will have access to. We either have to provide that directly as an FQHC or we have to work with others in the community. So for instance, some of the, we may not initially be doing OB services, but we would be working with the hospital to ensure that the women who come to the Blue Ridge site, which will be called the Haywood Health Center, have access to those services. So we will be partnering with many of the nonprofits and healthcare providers, including Good Samaritan Clinic, as we move on. Federally qualified health centers are the largest healthcare provider network in the nation, and this map shows you where all of the FQHCs are. They served about 22 million individuals last year for over 84 million patient visits. So it is one of the largest networks, and what ties us together as a network, we are independent nonprofits, but the things that tie us together is our quality initiatives. It also ties together in disaster. So for instance, when there's a disaster, the call goes out to all health centers to see if there's available resources. And that's just quality, as I said, in safety and improvement in policy. At Blue Ridge Community Health Services, our mission is to provide quality health care that is affordable, accessible and affordable to all. And what that means to us is whether or not someone is insured, if they're uninsured, if they're living in poverty, if they are children, if they are adults, older individuals. If someone has never seen a doctor, it doesn't matter. The door for a Blue Ridge facility is always available to everyone. I'll move through this pretty quickly. Blue Ridge has been around for 50 years. We started in 1963 in Henderson County. We currently have over 52 providers in Western North Carolina, including family practitioners. We also have pediatricians. We have some advanced practice, mid-level nurse practitioners, dentists. We have psychiatrists, counselors. We do operate in Henderson County 4 school-based health centers. We also have licensed dietitians. We offer some discount pharmacy programs under something called a 340B, which is another federal program that we have access to. And then we do offer a lot of community outreach and health education. Blue Ridge has 3 accreditations that are very important because we're the only non-hospital affiliated organization, healthcare organization that has achieved these accreditations in a 50-mile radius. We are Joint Commission accredited for patient safety and quality under their ambulatory standards, and we are Joint Commission accredited as a primary care medical home. We are also recognized by the National Committee for Quality Assurance, or NCQA, as a patient-centered medical home, meaning that we have been recognized as putting the patient at the center of our care. Real quickly, this is where our current locations are. We operate 13 locations in Western North Carolina, in Transylvania, Buncombe, Henderson, Polk, and Rutherford. There should actually be a dot on this map in Polk. As of December 1st, we opened a new site there, and we would like to expand this map to show a location in Haywood County in partnership with Good Sam and their current Mountaintop Clinic. This map just gives you an idea of where Blue Ridge patients come from. Each one of those red dots represents a current Blue Ridge patient, although there are many dots that are not on the map because we can't map things like post office boxes and motels and that sort of thing. But it gives you an idea. We've been in Henderson County for 50 years, so of course the majority of our patients come from that area, but we're seeing patients from all over Western North Carolina. For Haywood County, Blue Ridge currently has over 200 patients. We're 4,000 visits over the last year of people who traveled from Haywood County to get to a Blue Ridge facility. In the last, this is 2014, we see in general we have about 30,000 active patients and 105,000 visits. Our cost per patient is significantly lower than any hospital or other private practice. We operate on a very tight budget, and we know how to be good stewards of the resources provided to us. 56% of our patients are uninsured. We filled about 60,000 prescriptions last year and gave about 5,000 vaccines. We served 570 veterans, and just so you know, we are also acknowledged, or have been accredited as a Veterans Choice provider. So any veteran who is unable to make the trip to a VA facility because of transportation or other barrier, they can come to a Blue Ridge facility and be seen just as they would at the VA. We delivered 171 babies last year and did about 17,000 fillings and extractions. As an organization, we support over 200 jobs, and we generate a payroll of over $7 million, so we also, in the communities that we serve, we also have an economic impact. In our school-based health centers in Henderson County, we provided services to over 2,000 children. For the cost of one ER visit, Blue Ridge can provide 10 patient visits. So we're very important in taking that inappropriate ER utilization and creating medical homes for people where they have continuing relationship, ongoing relationship with their own doctor. Our operating dollars, about 56% of our patient revenue actually comes from our patients. We are not a free clinic. We have a nominal fee of $25, which is where the majority of our patients pay. We find no problem with collecting from those patients because we find that patients really want to contribute to their care and are not looking for any kind of a handout. They do want to have some accountability for their care. 31% is the health center grant that I mentioned, and then 13% of our revenue comes from donations, gifts from foundations and individuals. Of those dollars, we spend 71% on salaries, and we spend another 10% on the supplies that are required to provide care. So the majority of our dollars are spent right on those direct care providers. In Haywood County, I'm sure I don't have to tell you this, that of the 60,000 or so people in Haywood County, about 21,000 are low income, and about 10,000 or so of your citizens are uninsured. When you have a large uninsured base like you do, that means that there's going to be an increase in unmanaged chronic disease, and it's going to end up costing the county more in providing that care. You have a need in Haywood County. We identified it 2 or more years ago, and we want to respond to that need. In the summer of 2014, we initiated some conversations. Actually, Carmen Rocco initiated the conversations between the community partners of Good Sam / Mountaintop Healthcare, which is their clinical arm, the health department, Haywood Regional, about how we might work together to expand care. And then we re-energized those conversations in February of this last year, and Mountaintop signed a letter of intent with Blue Ridge in September of 2015. Just last week on Thursday, Haywood Regional committed their support to the project and will help us to create a sustainable long-term strategy in the form of a community benefit grant that'll help us to offset any cost of caring for the uninsured. In the plan, Blue Ridge will assume operational authority of the Mountaintop Clinic, the clinical arm of Good Sam, and we will work collaboratively with Good Sam in the future so that they can continue to provide some supportive services, which may include case management, medication assistance, some others that'll help support this care. And our plan is that the Haywood Health Center would be open in May 1st, 2016. In order for us to accomplish that, I will need to submit an application to the feds to be able to put that under our scope of project, this new site. If I can do that this week, quite honestly, we'll be able to be open in May if we're pending federal approval. One of the things that the federal government will use to determine whether or not they will support this project is how much community support we have. So, the partners that we've collaborated with and the county commissioners and your Department of Public Health and Department of Social Services are going to be critical for us to demonstrate that this community wants and needs this innovative project to happen. We'll offer family medicine immediately, behavioral health very soon, and nutrition very soon after opening. And the way the Office of Pharmacy Affairs work, we would be able to offer discount medications by the end of the first year. They operate on the quarter, so we wouldn't get approval for discount pharmacy for a couple of months. That's one of the ways that Good Sam will help, because they will be able to provide some medication assistance. And then we'll have a patient-centered medical home for the residents of Haywood County that certainly is well needed, and we anticipate that in the first year we'll see over 2,000 patients, over 4,200 encounters. So with that, what I'm doing is asking for your support of the project, and that we can count on a letter of support that we can submit in our application to the federal government. And I would love to answer any questions. How'd I do on this, my 7 minutes?
Excellent presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Is there anyone in the healthcare community that is not in support of this? It appears
We have,
not.
everyone that we have spoken to is very supportive. And all of the partners are here today, and I have not talked to anyone who's not supportive.
Okay. I mean, you listed everyone. I couldn't think of anyone else, so.
I sit on that board, and I've been involved with this thing probably from the jump go back in summer 2014. And the Good Samaritan Board has kind of reached a critical point several months ago in needing to try to partner with an organization like this. And so been following it. Appreciate all the hard work that the board has done, going and meeting and talking with you and your organization and the hospital and everything. And I'm very pleased to see this thing come to fruition. And I think this is something we need in this county, not only for our citizens, but Good Samaritan. This kind of assures that they will be up and continue operating as they have.
Their sustainability has been tenuous, and this will, I think, go a long way toward helping them become more viable. Philip Wright is here. Do you have anything, Philip, about the...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, we were very supportive of this. We're committed to this. In fact, over the first 2 years, several $100,000. So we're definitely invested in this. I think it's great for the community. It's going to provide care for folks that don't get that. And we've got a great relationship with the Good Samaritan folks, and everybody's been involved in a lot of meetings, especially since February. And this is all about, their mission, that they put up there, and ours is making communities healthier. So this all goes right along with that. And so we're very excited and very committed and glad to be a part of it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or observations? Well, as I said, an excellent presentation. At this point, I would entertain a motion authorizing me to sign a letter of support on behalf of this project.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. I'll have that for you today. Okay, thank you. Okay. The next agenda item is a request for a salary adjustment for horticultural extension agent. Okay, I was just told, I'm sorry, that we have to take a brief recess to change the tape in the camera. Thank you. We're back in session.
Are we ready?
Yes, we're ready to go. So recognize Bill Skelton, our County Extension Director. Bill?
Good morning, Chairman Swanger and Board. With the Cooperative Extension Office here in Haywood County, we are part of NC State. We get funding from the county. We certainly appreciate that. In the past, y'all have seen fit to fund fully one of our positions, the horticulture extension agent in our office. This last year, the state provided some flexibility funds to the UNC system to be applied to some general areas and types of positions across the state, and this does affect this horticulture agent position that we have here in Haywood County. She is currently at $35,000 the way the flexibility funds worked out. Early career agents making less than $36,000 were moved to $36,000. if they had state appropriated funds on them. Since this one is only county funds, she suffered or is not been recognized with that adjustment at this point. So I'm coming before you today to ask for that extra $1,000 increase in her salary to be effective retroactive to July 1, 2015.
So basically, it's just an equity increase.
It is a market equity increase, yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions, comments from anyone? Okay, if not, then would entertain a motion to approve the salary increase as described.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you
Bill?
very much.
Thank you. Okay. Next up is David Francis again with a resolution for the Board of Equalization and Review.
Before you, Commissioners, is the Equalization Board Review Resolution. We discussed this at the first meeting in January. Mr. Upton, I have some bad news for you. You missed that meeting, and they appointed you
I
to
want to
be the alternate.
apologize for missing that meeting.
So just to go ahead and give you a heads up, they did appoint you while you were in your absence.
I saw it.
They said they were going to. But before you is the members of the board are Evelyn Cooper, Marianne Enlow, James Harley Francis, Jimmy Flynn, and Rayburn Cliff Stovall, and that Ms. Evelyn Cooper be appointed chairman and Mr. Cliff Stovall be appointed as vice chairman, and that the dates that the Board of ENR will begin will be April 5th, 2016 at 1 o'clock, and that they will meet on the 5th, of course, the 8th, 13th, 14th, and 19th of April at 8:30, and that they will begin taking applications to hear appeals on March 28th, 2016 through April 8th, 2016.
Okay. Any questions of David? This is an annual document.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And if there's no questions, would entertain a motion that the resolution as for the Board of Equalization and Review as described be approved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. Next up, we have
You want to say David
David
Francis
and
again?
Julie. I don't know which.
A little bit of both. You want to say David Francis again? Do you want to do that?
Request approval to cover costs and a budget amendment for recycling electronics.
This past year, we had a little bit of a shock. Again, one of the legislative changes that happened. So we are seeking to move some money out of contingency to help cover electronics recycling. Electronics includes TVs, computers, keyboards, mouses, anything of the electronic nature. This was a self-sustaining program until this past summer. The legislative changes proposed and the market conditions have dwindled that we will need some funds to cover the electronic recycling program. These electronics are banned by state law in 2010, and that's why you just can't go dump them back in the landfill. These have to be recycled by a certified R2 recycler, which we'll be using out of Atlanta, Georgia, it's in Norcross at this point. So any questions from the board?
Previously, the manufacturers were somehow involved in...
Yeah, the manufacturers, there was basically a subsidy that the state was charging for the upkeep and the running of this program, and that's one of the legislative changes that has taken place. The currently DEQ, North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, is doing a study. The North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, the League of Municipalities, and all 100 solid waste folks across the state are trying to get this changed to where it goes back, and the manufacturers are held accountable and responsible for these electronics, and not just be the burden of the citizens.
In the meantime, we're going to have an
In
expense.
the meantime, we're going to have to do something. Yeah. This is this is a busy time of the year, Christmas. We get a little bump in electronics, and then we have this is the busy because of the Super Bowl. A lot of people.
TVs.
Yeah, TVs right before the big game, and hopefully a lot of people will be watching the Panthers this Sunday. But yeah, but it's funny you watch all the different TVs come in the next week or so after this. Yeah.
Okay, and if approved, Julie, you want a budget amendment to let you pay for it. Is that right?
I have a budget amendment today for you because the electronics recycling used to be a revenue source, and now it's an expense that we're going to have to pay. So I'm bringing a budget amendment to you for $40,000 that we expect it to cost through the end of this year, and I'm taking the money from the contingency in the solid waste management special revenue fund.
Okay. Any questions of Julie or David?
I just want to make a comment. So we were getting, the state was, this is something that's passed to us from the state, really, because it's legislative changes. They changed it to where, I guess, people, were they paying a fee when they bought a piece of electronics, and now they don't have to pay that fee?
The electronic manufacturers were paying into the state a fee to basically operate and do business. That would have, been, the TVs, the computer manufacturers, all of those. And a legislator down in Greensboro, took, this away and put it into a study program, as opposed to being, ongoing. And then the recyclers of the people, the disposal, got scared that they weren't going to have any money to be able to pay and have this program subsidized as it had been in the past. And so it was like I said, it sent all 100 counties into a shock, and everybody, all 100 counties are now having to, to pay to overcome
To get
this.
rid of electronics and stuff.
Madison County's, I think, was almost $90,000 that they were going to be responsible for now that they didn't have to be before. So,
Okay.
but that and the downturn in the commodities market as well too.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? If not, would entertain a motion that a budget amendment amount of $40,000 be approved, and which will represent payment for the from solid waste contingency.
So moved.
Electronics program. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the fifth item was requesting approval of a resolution in support of North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory's Connect NC bond proposals. We had a speaker address portions of this earlier, and I asked our county attorney to conduct some research. Chip?
Yes, the lady is correct. There are some inaccuracies in this resolution, so we should pull it until we can verify some of the facts. I know in particular that the amount is $2 billion, not $2.85 billion, and further, there's no provision in there for building roads. That was removed at the last minute, so I think we should take another look at this and reconsider it at some later time.
Okay. All right, if there's no objection, then I'll adjust the agenda to remove consideration of that resolution. Okay, the last item of new business is to announce a Board of Commissioners work session on February 11th, 2016. It'll be from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Health and Human Services Agency Training Room. That will mark the beginning of our 2016-17 budget planning process. So we will have that work session, and it is open to the public. All right, is there anything else? If not, would entertain a motion that we enter into closed session for closed session minutes, 143-318.11A1, economic development, 143-318.11A4, and attorney-client privilege, 143-318.11A3.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Do we have returned from closed session? Is there additional business for the board? If not, we entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.